You're listening to Inclusive AF with Jackye Clayton and Katie Van Horn.
Welcome
Hi.
to the Inclusive AF podcast. I'm Katie Van Horn.
And I'm Jackye Clayton. I'm so glad to be here. What are we talking about, Katie?
We're talking about Sunday morning and what music we listen to on Sunday morning. So Jackye has a song she was playing on the way into the studio. I was playing like a very calm, chill mix. And I don't think we were quite aligned on the music up
I was
from the get-go.
Jay-Z and Kanye. There's just no getting back after that.
So we just had to do a little dance party Sunday just to get us both into the groove. We're ready now, so that's good. That's a good thing.
That is good.
So let's talk about kind of the aftermath of the election. We are now,
it's official now.
Maybe.
We're 98% now.
98.235% sure that Joe Biden will be our next president. But
stranger things have happened.
It is what it is. We shall see if anything comes of these different lawsuits happening around the country. We did just record earlier on Friday. So this is Sunday. On Friday, we did record with Sal Bretz, and we're going to actually fast forward his editing so that we can get him up quicker. But Jackye, what I wanted to talk about today is around kind of how is everyone doing post-election? And, I think we're all hearing things around, we need to unite, we need to forgive, we need to all of these things. From your face, which some of you who are just listening can't see, Jackie's face is incredulous, I think is the right word.
So every time I see, so everybody, let's just forgive each other because, we were like, it's really easy to forgive when you didn't get punched in the face. It's really easy to be the one breaking up. Like, no, don't fight, y'all. Let's just be. And it's like, stop. Like, forgive what? I might respond different if someone said, like, had an itemized list. Okay. Maybe I'd feel better if someone said, forgive your next door neighbor for being a misogynistic, racist, sexist pig.
Right.
They didn't mean it.
Right. I think that, that's a really good point. I think part of this, you and I have talked about this offline, just around the fact that it's more of I'm still in this space of not understanding how people are deciding who they vote for and deciding against other human beings, or that is the impression I have. Now, obviously, their impression being a supporter of Trump is different, and they have their reasons. But I was actually talking to one of my family members, and I just said, I would have loved to post, and I still would love to post on Facebook, but I don't get involved in any of those reindeer games. Post on Facebook, just please tell me why. Tell me what it is about Trump that is so magnificent, or what he has done that's so magnificent, because I can't see it.
Well, now I was thinking about it the other day too, like trying to pull it out, because talking about mental wellness, I think we're both trying to wrap our head around it. Like, part of it, I think for those of us in this work, we know we have to confront these people, and it's not really confront, but we're going to have these people in our classes and at the companies that we work for, and we're going to have to potentially confront some of these issues and feelings as we're trying to help people become more inclusive. I just feel like I was like, well, he didn't send us to war. The sad thing is that he made us really hate everyone. And then I was like, okay, but we didn't actually go to war. He didn't pull any people out. And it's like, God, it's been 4 years, because we've been at war since 2001 for 19, pert near 20 years.
Yeah.
So maybe that's something.
Right.
He did
Absolutely.
give us all, I don't think another president, even though it was because of COVID, I can't imagine any of the past presidents saying, let's give them all money because they're not going to have any. I can't imagine another president doing that. Even though he
Okay.
gave, like, people who, millionaires, more millions that they kept for themselves instead of giving to their businesses. I just, you know, it's hard. But he did do that.
Okay.
Let me Google it. I think that's all I got.
Two things. He did not create a new war, and he did sign a stimulus package, but only one, because $1,200 will cover you from March until December. You'll be
And
fine.
he, the first thing that comes up is how Trump took the middle class to the cleaners. Maybe I shouldn't read that one.
I don't know if that will support your
No.
defense of Trump. And I know it's not even a defense of Trump. I think there are things that, yes, to your point, there are things that you could say, yes, he did participate, or he did, support or whatever. And I'm sure if we had someone on here who was a Trump
Oh,
fan, maybe they
wait.
could come up. Oh, sorry. Go ahead. What did you find?
Unemployment benefits were expanded, restrictions on evictions from homes, student loan payment relief.
Okay. So these are all COVID, post-COVID.
But it's kind of funny because the courts are deciding if this is constitutional or not.
Right.
What are they going to do?
Well, so this is, I think, the conversation that so many of us had was like for rent, rent relief. And for folks that are renters, there was this, okay, you will not be evicted. That in theory, that is great. That is very supportive. But then for those homeowners who have renters in their home, now they're in a bind because they're having to pay a mortgage, an additional mortgage. So it is that, should we call, I know we had the trickle down relief. So maybe this is the trickle up situation of, how does this impact people who are renting out second homes and things like that as money-making endeavors, how they now are kind of in a bind because of that. But I also, I'm trying to think of like what else I've heard from folks that he has done. I know there was, and I don't know the details of this, but I think there was a whole executive order signed around the investigation of missing Indigenous women.
Mhm.
So there are some efforts underway that were not underway before him. He did sign off on that.
The issue is, though, there's always the thing is, I think if he didn't promote hate so much that somebody had to lose in order for someone to win, it wouldn't feel so bad. Like the
Right.
stuff of course we want to bring more jobs in America. Of course it's great you gave tax cuts when people like did manufacturing here in the country, but you didn't have to like also ban China from coming and also, give people taxes for doing all of these other things. Like, you don't have to hurt anybody in the process of trying to help people. And I think the world has kind of gotten to that where it has to be somebody loses in order for us to win. And that's why I think America started to wake up. And some of the things that he's done really has been more effective around international policy and some of the things that are so bad. And we're like, no, you can't just do that. Like the Muslim ban. It's hard to be like, oh, it's good that we can't be happy that you reduced H-1B visas from hiring foreign people coming to the United States and stop that, because the result is not having the innovation, and you don't have to hate these people, even though it gave jobs back to the United States. Like, I think it's because of not having a life in politics, of understanding the overall impact to the rest of the world. Does that make sense?
Absolutely. And I think there is definitely a feeling of, I think you're spot on. It is there's no win-win. It's win, lose. There has to be a loser, and they have, and he has to be the winner. And that's such an unfortunate place. As a leader, that's like the least effective method to be a leader. Like you want it to be a win-win situation for everyone involved in the conversation. So it's a shame, honestly, because I think that some of the things he talked about with like bringing jobs back to the US and some of the things that he did decide to do, yes, on the short term, great. That's awesome. That's wonderful. But on a long-term perspective, like what is the impact later, and what are the things that we're not going to be able to, as you mentioned, innovate on? It's so funny because I think for so many folks, it's okay, if you're going to cut off these H1N1 visas, then you need to also bolster education and make sure that we have schools that are actually teaching children and college students and whoever that innovation is so important to drive our success in the future. I am also like, and I've had this conversation with multiple, family members that I'm from Ohio. So in the 80s, and, we were leaving Ohio to move to Arizona because of the fact that like Akron was basically shutting down. All the factories were shutting down. All of these different things were shutting down. Housing prices were nothing. It was a horrible time to be in Akron and, in Ohio surrounding some of these different topics. And it's fascinating to me because it's the whole concept around, are we educating folks to learn new skills? Are we reskilling them when we are closing down these factories, when we are moving away from coal into solar, all of those things that we missed that step. And it's almost like we're going backwards. And I think that's what so many people are struggling with is, yes, you can talk about clean coal. Yes, you can talk about all these things, but I mean, Arizona is a great example of this, where why are we not doing everything we can to advance solar power? When he's talking about, wind power and it's, oh, hey, no, that doesn't work if it's not windy. Like just the complete lack of understanding, but also the complete willful ignorance.
That's what I was going to say.
That's where
That's how we handled money. Like we don't have the money to give everybody whatever, $1,000. And he's like, whatever, I'm just making it up. We're just going to do it. Just print more. His says a lot about him as a person, just his lack of respect for money. I think some of the things that he did, we aren't going to realize that were benefits because they were overshadowed by negativity.
Mm-hmm.
And I think some of the things we aren't going to notice how bad they were because like things that happen to the environment and things with foreign policy, we aren't going to notice initially the impact. It takes so much to get back to do that. To expect that Kamala and Biden are going to be able to do all of those things, reverse all those executive orders. I mean, the Georgia primary, that's why, and I think that's another reason why we all feel kind of not great is because it isn't done. It isn't right. Over. I mean, come on, Biden's going to be president. Okay. It's not going to be great, but he won't be able to do anything. If we have the House and the Senate, that would be great. Then we can do things, but we're all waiting on Georgia. Mm-hmm. And we don't know what's going to happen. Whether he can fix any of the wrongs is going to be heavily dependent on that.
Well, and I also think it's like every other president. And I mean, I know many people talk about this all the time, that you're inheriting whatever the last president did, good and bad. And so, some of the benefits that we saw with the Trump administration, was it really him, or was it something that Obama had already put in place that was now, coming to fruition? And it will be the same thing with, did the things that Trump did, will they benefit or harm Biden and Harris as they proceed into their leadership? And I think it's going to be both sides. But I agree with you that without the power of the House and the Senate, how are they going to get anything done? And I mean, it will be difficult at best, but I think that was also the same situation that Obama was in, where he didn't have the control. And so it was one of those things that, he couldn't get a lot of stuff done, which was then kind of made fun of or was something that was used against him later.
Sure.
So, but I want to go back to the how's everybody doing and kind of the, what the toll that it has taken, because I think, for so many of us in 2016 and leading up to the election of President Trump, there were so many emotions between, I can't talk to my family members about this, or I am losing friends over this, that we heard from so many people, and the stress of that, the taxing, the mental taxing power of all of that. And then, for the last 4 years, I think it's continued. But now we're, post-election kind of, and the stress, I think, has actually increased in a lot of ways because of what we're dealing with, as you mentioned, like Georgia and, and the states that it did take a while to get results. And now the lawsuits have come in, and now there's marching in Washington around, oh, it's all a fraud, and all of these things that have just been exacerbated by all of the stressors for the last 4 years. And
I just think we're hurting.
yeah.
Regardless of what side you're on, there's evidence of hurting. And I think it's sad because we all have to go on, but there's so many moments where it's like, I think I'm going to fall apart. I think that's an actual quote from a text that I sent you. Like, I can't do this today. I cannot do this. I think I'm falling apart. For me, I know a lot of it was, family issues, but then realizing that I've been holding my breath for so long. And I think that's why we're seeing such a swing of the pendulum, because so many people were like, it's like, it wasn't just, I can't just speak my opinion. It's, you can hurt me and nobody cares, me, a Black woman, and nobody's going to care about that. So you have to be really careful about how you are. And I think people are still feeling that unsafe. It's a safety issue. And I think especially during the election, because people knew it was so divisive, you don't know. It's kind of like you want to watch your back, and it shouldn't be like that. It's not Republicans versus Democrats. It's really hardcore Trumper people versus everybody else who's not, doesn't feel that extreme way, which can be in both parties. But I think that affects your work, because we also know that what's leading most people's work is still going to be, white men. We know the percentage that supported Trump. Those are the places where you have to go. And what do you do with that information? And how are we going to be able to move it forward? I think for those of us in diversity and inclusion work, we're excited that we know that they're going to reverse it. If any of the executive orders, they're not going to prevent people from having diversity training. So from that point, but it's like, I'm nervous about quacks coming up everywhere, or people who would call themselves people who work in diversity that are just more angry and then cause more divisiveness. I'm worried about that.
Yeah.
What are you worried about? You ain't got nothing to worry about, Katie. Just kidding.
Sunshine and rainbows. For me, it's I think you said something that's so spot on. Like, you felt like you have been holding your breath for so long. And I think that's also been how so many of us have felt. It's holding your breath because it's, oh my gosh, what's going to happen on election night? I think so many of us, it was like, oh my goodness gracious, how are we here? How are we still so divided as a nation? But I also think it's the holding your breath of, I'll give you a great example. So I host a holiday party every year for a group of friends, and a few of them have asked me about, oh, hey, are you doing it this year? And it's the COVID piece, so I don't know if I'm going to host. But then the second piece is, I don't know how comfortable I am being around certain people because of the fact that we hold such varying beliefs on politics. But it's not just politics, really. It's really, in my mind, it's a little bit of that humanity piece, that you're going to choose money. You're going to choose this person. Like, what is the price? What's the tipping point when you just go, someone isn't a good person and they're doing things that are harming other people. And for that, I can't accept you as a friend. or I can't continue our friendship. That's, I think, the part that I struggle with a lot is how do you separate the two? Can you separate the two? And you're right. I mean, there are so many things that I don't have to worry about, and I haven't had to worry about because I am a white woman. But there's also this complete worry and concern over friends of mine who are people of color and who have been so impacted that it's also the what's going to happen next. Because I don't think that electing Joe Biden is the be all cure all in any way, shape, or form. And I think there's still a lot of things that we need to solve within this country because of what Trump has uncovered. Like, I know we've talked about this a little bit before, of quite honestly, like, Trump has kind of pulled back the curtain to say, actually, no, all these people are still complete racists and they're totally fine with some of these behaviors. And not understanding, I don't even know if I'm making sense right now, but it's like now that we know, we can't unknow that people believe these things or feel this certain way.
Well, I think it's funny. Well, not funny, haha, but kind of funny, strange, but maybe it is funny, haha. That I think for me, I see a lot of my white friends going through this, and like I feel like the Black community, like we've already knew this. It's funny for so many people being like, "Oh, I knew they didn't have a lot of Black friends or a lot of experiences, and they weren't very, aware, culturally aware of other groups. I didn't know they were like a full-on racist." It just reminds me of, like, how when we were starting to see more in the news, more Black men getting shot, and people were like, gasp, I didn't know this was happening. And we were like, yeah, this has been happening the whole time. It feels like the same thing, just on a political level, where people are like, gasp, I didn't know 55% of white women were racist. And everyone else is going, yeah, we've been telling you that for a really long time. And I feel like people are just now putting all the pieces together because he was just so overtly, a lot of these groups have been just so overtly racist and hateful.
Yeah. And I know we're the 55%, it is a punch in the gut, just personally. And I can't imagine being in any other group and how that must feel, because it is at what point are people going to realize that you're actually working against yourself by voting for someone like him and what he is proposing? But
I just think people hurt. I mean, like we were talking about earlier, and I was like, I had the same feeling that I had like back in 5th grade when I wasn't invited. I almost wasn't invited to Ginger Gilchrist's birthday party.
Oh, we're using last names too.
Yeah, it's not Gilchrist anymore, but
okay.
But everybody who knows that it's
we are.
They know they were all there. I think I almost want to invite all of them to the show. It was a situation. I'm still friends with all of them.
Okay.
Online. We were all there when she had her birthday party. And we were all there when she was told that I couldn't come to the birthday party. And it would be very interesting to bring all of these people back. Like, I'm still friends with all of them. It'd be very interesting to hear what happened, because I ended up going to the birthday party. Right. But it still made this thing like, why would somebody not like me? Not because I'm a diva or whatever. It's like, you don't even know me and I'm a really nice person and we're friends. And it kind of feels
a really nice person.
Thank you, Katie. But it felt like that. That's what ripped the gut out of me last week as I was watching the election, where it was like, they really hate us.
Yeah.
So what do you do with that?
I think that's the piece. It is the decisions that you're making are actually harming other humans. And I need you to pull it together, because you cannot start crying right now.
I've got my thing.
I shouldn't say it like that. You can absolutely cry if you need to,
so
but I need you to pull it together, or I'm going to start crying too. So
I know.
Thank you.
Yeah.
I think that it's just disheartening. Like it's disheartening. And it is also, I just don't get it. I don't understand. And that feeling of exclusion, that feeling of, again, this is where I said, I wanted to post on Facebook, like, help me understand what is the thing we're so supportive of for him that you decided he was the right choice.
I just can't put it in my head. And I think for everybody else, it's like, well, what are we going to do? And I think I'm glad, not glad, but I find it soothing to know that it wasn't just me holding my breath. Maybe I thought
Right.
that it was. I know you were holding your breath, but I think all of us knew that potentially it was only going to get worse if we had another 4 years. And how bad was it going to be? Was it going to
Mm-hmm.
be freaking like 1984? Was it going to be like, some weird communist country? Are we going to go to a dictatorship? I mean, it's really like that. Are we going to start having
Yes.
pulling people out of school to be in some like weird, like white nationalist army? Like, I just didn't know how far it was going to go.
Yeah. I think that's the piece. It is I feel much more hopeful this week. And I think like the week of the election, by Friday, I had like a meeting and I think I've already said this to you. I had a meeting at like 3:30 in the afternoon on Friday, and I just sent a note to the guy I was supposed to be meeting with, like, I can't do this today. It wasn't even like I was exhausted, but it was more of the like mental, this is too hard and my stomach hurts and I feel like physically ill.
Mm-hmm.
But I think we're still there a little bit from the perspective of, we still don't know what Trump is actually going to do when he's making these maneuvers and doing these things that are setting up for a coup. I don't even know. I don't even know what you'd call it.
TV show, right? It's like
Right.
we're all watching. It does not seem real. Like, what do
No.
you mean? You're switching people. Like, what are you doing? Well, none of us know. None of us know.
And I think there's absolutely people that are loyal to him, and that is fine. And I think the piece that's interesting is to think about the folks that are working in these different government roles in the Secret Service and, all of these different places, and what their personal beliefs might be, and how, and obviously their duty is to uphold the law and all of these things. And so fully support that, but what they must be thinking and how they must be feeling about some of this stuff. So it's just interesting. But I want to close this one out just by asking the question of, what is one thing that you're doing for yourself to be okay, to kind of keep yourself whole and safe and secure and mentally well? What are the things, and maybe it's not one thing, maybe it's many things.
Drinking. I've actually been reading a lot, and at some point, and I don't know if this is healthy or not. Stay tuned. I'll let you know in a couple of weeks. But I'm trying to read these things, and I think part of what happened is our lives, we were all kind of in our head, not perfect, but okay, not acting on these things. And now it's like, no, we really have to do something. We really have to keep these people in the news. We really have to keep engaging people. And so I've been really kind of, I've been reading a lot, and looking at the people of power. There was a group that was behind some of like getting people to vote, and all of those things are called the Colored Girls. That's what they are called. And so I bought a book. All of them have written a book. I've bought every single book about rallying people together and kind of having a strategy. Like, I feel like I'm doing what I can. I'm doing my part. I'm still a part of Common Cause, which is nonpartisan, to make sure that people's right to vote is there and stopping disinformation and misinformation. And so that's what I've been doing, where it seems like people would think that would be unhealthy to go dig into it. But then I am digging into it and feel like I'm doing something about it instead of sitting back feeling like a victim. I'm finding the misinformation and disinformation and sending it in and trying to do something about it. And so every time I send a tweet in to say this needs to be reviewed, I feel just a little bit better. Like I can stop the bleeding just a little bit. But then the other part is actually just letting myself have those moments instead of trying to hold my breath anymore. So I just cry. I'm not going to cry today because I did really good job on my mascara and on my eyes. That's the only thing keeping me together right now. Maybe I should wear makeup every day and I won't cry. But there's
I think you pretty much look gorgeous though every day. So I appreciate that you did your makeup, but I also think that you're kind of beautiful all the time. So, well, that's good. Like, I like that. I like that you're digging in on this information, because I think that's part of it too, is that we can't stop learning, and we can't stop digging, and we can't stop uncovering the truth. And I think, for me, it's been just talking to people that are in the place of, okay, I'm a white person, and this is where white people landed on the vote. And how did we get here? And what are the things that we can do? And for me, I mean, I'm like a total book nerd, and I love the fact that I am. And I've been listening to a lot of podcasts and just trying to like absorb in every direction. But then also doing things like taking baths and listening to mellow music in the morning, and making sure I'm journaling, and making sure I'm physically going out for a walk or a bike ride or whatever it might be. That is the piece that I think for me has kind of been my saving grace, because I want to curl up in a ball. And
you brought up music. It's funny that you can listen to relaxing music. I have to listen to the exact opposite, which is why it's like the Jay-Z and Kanye, like, of creating this pump up music. And then I feel like I'm ready to go and get that energy to go. Because I start because I want to curl into a ball. But then when I hear that kind of music, 90s rap, I don't know, all of a sudden I just feel like, okay, I can do this. And I think that's what it was in the 90s, maybe because of the way that race relations were in the 90s and where we were. And it was like this music that was like, you have to do something, you have to get into it, you can't just let it go. And so I kind of listen to that, it puts me back in that place.
Right. I've also been watching some weird documentaries on Netflix, but we'll talk about that at another time.
My babies. I've been hugging my babies and trying to stay strong. I didn't tell you, both of them have had nightmares about white supremacists coming to kill their mother on 2 separate instances, both of them. And so if I have to be strong, and I have to give them facts in order for them to feel better and have the understanding and have those things. And I'm pretty sure, I try to take those pieces out. So I'm trying to empower them. And I feel like I have some great little people, even though they're 20 and 17, is trying to encourage them. They give me hope in the future of trying to get them. They're just really kind, good people, and they're trying to navigate through this world. And they have another burden, well, maybe we'll bring them on the show one day. They have their own burdens and row to hoe, as we say in Texas. But hugging them makes me feel better.
That's good. I like that.
Yeah.
All right, so let's wrap this episode. Wrap it up, people. Thank you so much for joining us. Jackye, thank you so much for sharing.
You're welcome. Thank you for always listening.
That's what I'm here for. This has been another episode of the Inclusive AF podcast. I'm Katee Van Horn.
And I'm Jackye Clayton. See you next time.
Bye.